What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back with another Dorkfish review, and today we're doing an amazing versus battle. We are going to look at the Storm Arena, Alpha 3 Street Fighters, and the Street Fighters 2 Jada Ultra Edition Final Challengers, Ryu and Ken. Let's get into it. Alright, we are going to break this down into three categories for the verses: packaging, accessories, and then the figure overall itself, which will include aesthetics and articulation and scale. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into where we always start, the boxes. Alright, and comparing boxes now, and I like both packaging. Both have a window to see what's going on, although you get a bigger window for more accessibility, and a top window with Jada there. So looking at it, both of them have your character on the front, more in the style of the games. Obviously, I like that Jada's is an arcade build. It gives it an aesthetic pop. You get more art on Jada's, which I like, both sides, and you get different art on each side. Both of them are going to be product shots. The original run of Jada's toys has the line and the wave, and I think it's in series 2 or 3 that they go back to just one figure on the package, whereas on Storm Arena you see different things for this figure on the package, and I like both. The color is good, the aesthetic is fine. I think I really like that you get the different backdrops. Whoop, try not to knock that over. But the different backdrops in each one for their stages, which I like that a lot. The same thing is true to Ken's, right? I'm just bringing those forward so you can see them. But I think ultimately, because of the stylization and the better windowing, so better for display, I think Jada takes the packaging right away. Don't get me wrong, Storm's is cool, but Jada's just really cool for display, as well as a neat little kind of gimmick, making it an arcade. So for packaging, Jada takes it. Now let's see how they do compared to Storm in accessories. Alright, and going into the accessories, we're going to start with Ryu from each, and we're going to start with the Storm Arena's Ryu. Now, stands. Both of the arena figures come with a clear bottom plate. This piece that pegs in and is ratcheted. And then two V-stands that clip into that ratcheted piece. One metal and black, one clear plastic. And the metal one actually has a tougher, ridged rubber to make sure it protects. Now, it's covered in rubber all the way around, but it has a bigger rubber suit over the top of, or covering over the top of the points to make sure that it protects the figure, which I like. And then Ryu, not Ken, comes with 3 of these little peg pieces. So that way you can peg it into the bottom plate to hold up his effect. Now, they port, so here's 2 of them. They port together, right? If you can get in there. Maybe, yeah, there's different port sizes, so just make sure you know that. But they port together, and so the good thing is you can use this to build variable heights for the effect. So that way you can do it with a crouching position or standing position, which I like a lot. For the actual attack itself, you get this blast, as well as an additional head, which I like a lot, and an additional bandana that can port in and out of either head. He's got his regular bandana on now. Well, bandana piece to the back of the head, I should say. And then his 2 kind of Hadouken hands right here, which look great. Now, as far as the Ryu for Jada, he comes with this extra growling head. he comes with his two Hadouken hands. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he comes with the actual Hadouken right here. And it's more of a rubbery texture plastic with a peg port there. And the hands in the center so that you can see them from a front angle. And then this little peg port system, same as Ken's, to hold up the effect. So that is all of their accessories. Now, if we're going spread for spread, um, it's tough because the only thing that you really get more out of Ryu is the interchangeable bandana part, and for the Storm Arena, the interchangeable bandana part and the stand that gives you the ability as a flight stand to move with him. But as far as the spread goes between them, otherwise, it's pretty similar. If you look, oh, and just to make sure I brought it up, the head and hands that are on them right now comes on them in package. So the fist hands and the neutral heads. So if we compare head to head, now understand when we're comparing these, we are not comparing, does this one look better than this one per se? That doesn't really work. What we're going to be comparing is the likeness. For instance, this one right here, these are both screaming style or angry grunting style heads. So that's comparable. They both look good. They're both sculpted well. They're both painted well. I like both of them. But what we would have to look at is this accurate to the game? And is this accurate to its game? I would say yes, this one is. This one, no. Everything about the head sculpts with Jada are kind of their takes on the game. I don't necessarily hate that. It's cool. But if you're looking at it from an accuracy standpoint, pulling these two in, you're gonna know immediately. This one is more accurate to the game look, but also the art that's put out. So I like this Ryu aesthetically, but he's not as accurate as this Ryu is to his source material. So that's kind of what that is. If you look at these here, and they are, again, accurate within the shapes of what the games have. This one is obviously a little more see-through, a little more clear. You can see Ryu a little through this, whereas this one not as well, but you've got the effects of the hands. The problem is with this is because of the effect hand part, you see that weird cut in there. Unless you're shooting it from this angle, you're always going to see that cut, and that bothers me. I'd rather not see the hands and it be empty inside, and you not have this clear cut. Whereas in this case, there is a line, but it's not as harsh, and a nice paint on the front. So if you're doing that from the front, might even use this for a Kamehameha wave with Goku. I kind of like that. So accessories, as far as those two go, I have to say, I think Storm Arena Ryu much more in favor of, even though it's pretty close to the same. Now that leads me to Ken. Good old Ken Masters. Now, as far as their accessories go, both of them have the same hands and fists from in package on them now. For the Storm Arena, we've got the smirking head here, which looks great. His bandana is tied to his hair to hold it back, same as on that head. So you don't get a replacement bandana because it's on the hair and you don't have to repeg the hair. The hair doesn't move. So that is what that is, but is good. We have his Shoryuken effect. Looks fantastic, which looks amazing. And you could use it with Ryu as well. You get not just one, but two sets of hands. So you do get his Hadouken style hands, which you could use Ryu's Ken with them. Or you could even use the Jada Toys one with it if you wanted. But you also get this gesturing hand, the come get me hand, if you will, or the bring it on hand. And then for his other hand, you get the peace sign, which I like a lot. Yeah, well sculpted. Very well sculpted. You get the same stand as Ryu, except for it doesn't come with the peg parts to hold the Shoryuken, because he doesn't come with the Shoryuken. So just that to keep in mind. As far as the Jada toys Kin Masters goes, you get this head right here, the grinning head. He doesn't have a neutral head, he has a smiling head there. You get his Hadouken, and it's the exact same as Ryu's except for red and orange. And then you get the same stand to hold it, and much like Ryu, you get the same Hadouken in hands painted in his brown gloves. And that's really it. Comparing head to head, like you've got there, comparing these heads here, even their secondary heads. So comparing the head sculpts, yeah, I think that Storm Arena takes it for me. In overall accessories, I'm going to say Storm Arena takes it for me. Jada has great accessories, don't get me wrong, but they also had to do accessory packs with like the specialty down heads and the bloody hands and everything like that, which should have never been a problem. That should have already came with these figures. I feel like Storm Arena doesn't make me feel like I'm missing anything toy-wise when I have these figures. And Kin comes with another set of hands that really accentuate him. Whereas with the Jada toys, I feel like I'm missing the defeated heads. It's something I wanted from the jump, and then when I saw it was going to be a specialty pack, I was a little miffed about that. But Storm Arena, on the other hand, I feel like delivers everything I want. So, in terms of accessories, I have to give this to Storm Arena. All right, and now in comparing the figures themselves, we have to look at a few different things. Articulation, scale, and aesthetics. We're going to start with scale, because scale across the board, they're pretty on par. There's just a slight difference. The Ultra figures from Jada are a little bulkier, but there's not really too much of a height difference. So scale-wise, they're in the same vein. So that's kind of a neutral point there. So now we get into aesthetics, and aesthetically, I think both are amazing. You can see a little more flatness in some of the sculpt, like in the chest area here on Ryu and Kin on the Storm Arena side, whereas the Jada side, more of a roundness to their musculature in certain areas like the chest. Both of them textured the gis. I like that a lot. You've got texturing in both gis all the way around. They didn't even miss the joints, which is great. I love that. Great job on both. The musculature is fantastic. I really like the musculature on both. I think they did a great job either way. I will say there's a bit of differences in the wash. I feel like their wash is more of a white highlight, whereas Jada's wash is a little more of a darker highlight. So they went in and added the darkness in behind, whereas this one kind of went in and brushed up on the light ends of things. And that lends a little more to an anime style versus the video game style that they're looking for. But sculpt, both are fantastic. Where it deviates besides their style is, again, that the sculpt of Storm is trying to match that of the games and the other products around it, the anime and the books around it and so forth. Whereas Jada is pretty much so supposed to be matching the game. It is their takes on the game. So while they are fantastic looking, they are not accurate to the source. And that you get into the situation of where they look good, but they're not quite right. Whereas Storm is spot on to me. So that's kind of that separation right there, I think. And it's the same even for Ryu. That's not just a Kin thing. If you look at Ryu side by side here, this is a fantastic looking Ryu to me. I love his size. I love his facial expression. I love the look. But I don't get the video game from this. On the other hand, if I was to look at the Alpha series and look at this, this says Alpha to me. This says Street Fighters, but it doesn't say Ultra 2. This, on the other hand, says Alpha to me. And that's kind of where we're looking at nitpicking here, but that is the importance of the lines. They're meant to represent a specific game or a specific style, and I think that Storm Arena just does it better. They were a little more true to the source material. Another thing is, aesthetically, I'm not a big fan of how the joints pinch in. So this looks a little more natural on the back of the knee here, whereas this looks more toyetic, more of a unnatural pinch. This feels a little more like an actual knee joint, whereas this feels like a toy articulated joint. But on the other end, the elbow is still ugly as sin on both. So it's very minute things there. Um, I think I prefer the look of the neck joint on Storm as well aesthetically, just because it's an insert joint, whereas there's a lip. If you can see that, yeah, there's a lip on Jada's, and you can see it clearly with Ryu and Ken. That comes up and concaves around the neck, almost like just before or just after the collarbone. Whereas it doesn't create a lip on the Storm Arena toys. It feels a little more naturally in place. So aesthetically, there's a lot of great things happening with both. But I think there's just a little bit more going on with Storm Arena that I like. So articulation wise, you can get them in two great stances and really good poses either way. As you can see, I got Ryu posed up both. We'll use Ken because the articulation across is pretty much the same, except for Storm's Ken has longer hair. But for Jada Toys, and this is a little bit older articulation, they've updated as they've gone, but you've got his neck and head, so you can look up not far, but down pretty far. You know, you've got your motions here, pretty good. Boom. Around. You've got a butterfly joint in there, but it doesn't do a lot. Obviously, I showed T-pose, but then you've got your bicep, good swivel, double jointed elbows. You got your pin and hinge wrist. It does pop out when you hinge it, though. You've got a torso in here that I am not a fan of. I will say it's one of the few things in most of the Jada toys. I don't think that the joint holds up well here. It doesn't turn well, and it really doesn't move or crunch as well as I want to. You get more out of the hip joint, but even that, not a lot. So you can crunch them forward some, crunch them back some. You get perfect or near perfect splits out of the legs, thigh cut, forward, but it cuts out, back a little bit, double jointed knee. You've got the shin cut, which is great because it's covered by the pants. Ankle, because of how the pants sit, can go all the way down. A good deal forward, and you've got a nice little ankle rocker in there. So articulation wise for Jada, and again, they've updated some of their articulation with newer figures and the power of hindsight. This is still really good. Coming out of the gate for a new company that wasn't doing 112 before, like this is still immaculate for the price point. It blows away a lot of other lines by looking good in a lot of cases while still functionally moving well in a lot of cases. Don't like the way the elbow joint looks. I've always hated that from there. I think I like the way Storm's looks better. And the torso is probably the biggest problem I have with the figure. Now, looking at Storm Arena, you still got the neck and head joint. He can't really, he can kind of, but it pops. You can probably look up better with Ryu, but he can only look up that far right now. Down really good. You've got your side to side and turn and swivel, no problem. Up there, all the way around, no problem. You've got that bicep. Now you've got a butterfly joint in here that I like a lot more. It doesn't go back as far, but a great forward pop. Yeah, really good. And it's a ball joint like they do, so you can move around and set the shoulder pretty good. And right quick, I'm punching this back in because I missed it, and I don't want to leave it out. I got excited talking about the figure and didn't mention the rest of his articulation on his arm. So he has a bicep swivel and a double jointed elbow that gets that far, and then the pin and hinge wrist that works fine. It does pin up into the hand, which is opposite of the Jada toys that the joints are attached to the hand. So something to note there. For torso, not super far forward, not super far back. And this is with the gi on. It would change a little bit if I took the gi off of both. But I'm not going to do that because you're going to have them with the gi. So you've got the bottom and a little bit side to side from the top, but not a lot. So, boom, we crunch forward. Let me just straighten the legs back out. Boom, crunch forward. And beautiful crunch back. Sorry, let me get that back in front. Beautiful crunch back. Legs, full splits. They are drop down hips. So drop down, kick out. It turns out as well, the same as the other. You've got your thigh cut. You've got your double jointed elbow. Knee, stupid. You got a double jointed knee. You've got your shin swivel as well. Ankles go down that far. Come back up pretty far. And a toe hinge. And have I stated in any of my reviews before that I don't care for toe hinges? Most of the time they're ugly and I don't usually find them functional. But that's just me. So, I think the biggest point or bone of contention or thing to think about with articulation for these guys is I feel a little more hindered by Jada. They've got kind of ratchet points in some of there, so they've got some sticking points. Makes it a little harder to pop a joint into a position you want, especially with the knees. Storm feels much more fluid and holds. It feels like it's going to hold tightly, but at the same time, it doesn't want to fight you or feel gummy while moving. And that's down to the material they use and the way that they design the joints. So I will say I think I prefer the articulation overall of Storm a little bit more. Now, again, hindsight will tell you when you get into like Balrog, that's in my top 10 figures of the year, that Jada starts working on the articulation and upgrading and updating and changing things. But I can't judge these off of hindsight. This is Ken versus Ken, Ryu versus Ryu. And Storm has been doing this for a lot longer. So they, out the gate, yeah, they were going to have the ability to really combat things that Jada might not have foreseen as being articulation issues when they were first building these figures. I have to judge it off of that, to be fair to these figures. All right, and lastly, for some size comparisons, we have them with Marvel Legends Hulk. We have them with the Gamerverse Spider-Man. We have them with a Mezco Ninja Turtles and the Jada Toys Sagat. And then last but not least, in between, the Jada Toys M Bison. And they all look good. The scale is fantastic, and I am super happy with it. All right, and bringing this review to an end and tallying up everything, while Jada Toys wins the packaging, ultimately the accessories and overall figure are edged out by Storm Arena. Now, this is a personal opinion, and it's a very, very thin line in which that Storm Arena beat out Jada for me. I still absolutely love the Jada Toy figures. They're not comparable in terms of continuity because they're representing two different lines, right? Two different schools of thought and games. So you can still love both. Maybe it helps you decide. Maybe you see some stuff that I missed and you want to point it out. Happy for you to do that in the comments. Tell me what you think, which line you like more. Personally, I love both. My biggest problem is going to be consistency. Storm Collectibles, just to put it out there, is a lot of times inconsistent with putting out product as promised. They take forever sometimes. They will start off hot out of the gate with a line and it'll be doing good. And then for one reason or another, regardless of the reason, they will fall off. They'll have a hard time finishing the line, or in some cases, the line just gets canceled. Look at the Injustice line. Look at how long it's taken us to get through their regular Street Fighters 2 and Street Fighters 5 line, and I was collecting them, God, close to a decade ago, I think, right? When they were really popping off. So coming from that school of thought, Jada Toys has been very consistent with the release of their line to the point where we're on the last two figures, and they've already announced their next line, which happens to be Alpha. So I will definitely be getting those and kind of comparing those to these in their own individual videos. So I say all that to say is I think there's a little more quality with Storm Arena but we will see if they are consistent with their releases. I know coming down the line now, we've got Sagat is already out. We've got Akuma, I think, is next, and Zangief is on the way. But we will see how consistent they are moving forward. Jada, on the other hand, very consistent. So if you're someone who's looking to complete something right away, you can get your hands on pretty much all the Jada stuff. If you're looking for longevity and you don't mind the wait, Storm may be the way to go. That being said, I'm bringing this review to an end. Comment down below which wave, which series, which brand you like. And let me know if I missed anything as far as what you think on the overall review. Thank you for watching. My name's Wolfgang. Have a killer day, guys. I'm out.